we are going to be looking at a graveyard party. I didn't take the figurines out of the box. I figured there's no point. It's just something I might lose or potentially accidentally break. But it says that it just quit spinning. So I haven't turned it on yet. I've only just plugged it in. And I was told some of the pieces were glued on by the owner, which that's common. Oh yeah, it's struggling. I don't know if you can see it try and go. So, yep. So let's not burn it out. So, disconnect the power. And let's see how we get into this guy. I'm assuming we're going to have to do it from the bottom, because this is just one big resin casting. Even this section here, and it looks like that these plates are all going to be accessed from the bottom only. So let's get into this and see what we can do to find out why it's not spinning anymore. There really is no easy way to flip this over. I'm going to put it on its back and see if I can, this side, see if I can get it to start to separate. If not, I'm going to go get the box with the foam and see if I can flip it upside down and use the foam, the top half, to hold this up. I didn't look in the box to see if it's a big open area or if it's got segmented pieces of foam inside as a step. So she'll stand on her back because it's got a big flat section. So get some tools out if I didn't get out in advance. I'm going to start with a blade or a flathead screwdriver and see if I can peel some of this foam back, since I still have not found my spudgers. I really need to order them. Also, I'm going to try an X-Acto scraper. Yeah, they're not very expensive. They just take a couple weeks to get here because pretty much all spudgers come from China. So the lip is only about a 1/4 inch in until you get to the hot glue that holds the whole bottom ring in. So you should be able to carefully peel this all the way around and get it to separate. I'm going to try a little heat. Doesn't always work, but heat can help. And let's see if I can loosen up some of this tacky adhesive without melting the foam. Well, it's actually working decently. In case you have an adjustable temperature heat pen, mine is set for 212 degrees Celsius, which is hot as you can frickin' imagine on your fingers. It's probably warmer than you need, because this machine will pump out up to 910 or something like that degrees Celsius, which is insanely hot. If yours isn't adjustable, probably just the lowest setting, or maybe high on a hairdryer. It was working decently, but there's a spot right here where it looks like the hot glue, when it was assembled, has mixed with the foam, and it's really sticky. Right there. Yeah. So if you don't want to watch this, just skip ahead and understand. Or increase the speed or fast forward. There we go. Also notice this pad, this foam pad is off center. It's tucked in on this side and it overhangs the green on this side. Which means this side will be harder to take off because there's going to be more surface area touching the actual material, the resin. Yeah, just like I thought, this side's going to be a little bit harder because it's sticking to the green paint. Your results may vary depending on how the pad was stuck on. Now, I tried to salvage the pads if I can. There are some times where I can't and I have to replace the pads with a generic foam pad. If you have to do that, you can buy the sticky back pads from Michaels. Right now they have all the red ones on clearance. So you can even change the colors. If you've seen some of my other videos, you've probably seen me change the pads in some houses where the pads were unable to come off in one piece and they were destroyed beyond repair. But when I was at Michaels, looking at the new stuff for 2022, in their clearance section, because I always live in clearance sections, they have all the red self-adhesive foam pads on clearance for, in my Michaels, 9 cents a sheet. So, probably a typo, because last year when I got them, they were like 20 cents or 25 cents a sheet when they were clearancing out the old stock. Alright, so I got enough of this peeled back. I can now see the glue ring. Where can I grab this to turn her upside down? So you might be able to see the ring of hot glue. And I'm going to now warm that up. And I'm going to see if I can start to pry it free with the screwdriver. Of course, this pad wants to re-adhere itself because the heat keeps it nice and sticky. Alright, let's see if that'll work. Now over here is a spot where there's no glue, so I'm going to start over here and work my way around. As much glue as Lemax uses, they seem to always have a spot where they miss. And change the blade again because I'm also going to try and cut the glue strings as they form. And especially right here where I have the foam pad mixed in with the glue, I need to cut the foam pad so I can get the glue. Like that. to work your way around carefully. You might need 2 screwdrivers or something to help pry. Usually when I get the glue out, I'll scrape the edges clean for the new glue. It's just the old glue that gets in the way. Another spot of glue mixed with pad. There we go. There we go. This is usually always the longest part, is separating the bottoms on these different houses. Now we're getting there slowly. Get another blade screwdriver or flathead, a bigger one. Come on. Alright, now that I have it moved enough that I can see, before I break it all the way free, I want to make sure nothing I do is going to cause any damage. I'm going to get a flashlight, use my cell phone, I'm going to look inside. Well, right here I have the drive gear for the center section. And then there's another gear over here, which probably drives the independent magnets. I don't see anything that's going to get in the way except for this guy right here, who apparently is attached to this base. I have a funny feeling he might break off since he goes up and down. If he goes up high enough, I can flex him out of the way once the bottom breaks free. So, let's turn off my flashlight. I need to get the back to break free now. Ah, yeah. Sharp X-Acto knife. And I slipped. So, while I go clean up the blood that's pouring out of me at the moment, we'll be right back. I'm going to go get a Band-Aid and try not to slip again with the X-Acto knife, which is what I was afraid was going to happen. So, and then we'll get the rest of this bottom off so we can find out why it doesn't turn. So, sorry for the interruption or delay. I don't want to get any blood on the piece, so I'm gonna. Bad idea. It's a brand new blade, super sharp. So I'm gonna go take care of my thumb. Come back. We're gonna finish the bottom here so we can get this thing opened up and find out why it doesn't spin. See if it's a broken gear or if there's something wedged in the mechanism. So shall return here in a few moments. Alright, I'm back. It's been a few, and I went and found the box top, and yes, it does have the ability to hold this in place. So now I got my nice bandaged thumb, since I take blood thinners, and this thing is bleeding really fast. Yeah, it's bled through multiple bandages already, so now we got multiple layers of gauze and some tape. We'll see if that stops the blood from coming through. So I'm going to finish popping this thing up and seeing if we can get this thing apart. Hopefully it'll come apart without any issues. Alright, I'm going to set it back on its back so I can watch these characters and see if I'm going to have any issues, because this one also is going to be in the way. I'm sure there's wiring. And get a better view of inside if I don't keep walking it towards me. But she is caught on something. I'm not going to force it too hard. I want to see what it's caught on. See, is it the turntable in the middle? Nope, whatever it's caught on is towards the back. So let's set this thing back in here, like so. And I'm gonna look inside again. To see a track. Don't see any reason why it's holding. I have a divot here, divot here. Divot here. I wonder if they're screws. So right here I cut because there's a bulge. It's a casting, it's nothing there. But let's take a look in here. Sorry, Priscilla, that I'm cutting up the bottom. I might have to just replace it. No, that's a screw, but it's pointing me, not going down. Same. And same. I don't feel anything else, so I am not sure what it's stuck on. Nothing up here moves. Like I said, it's caught back here. It's probably caught on this input. So let's see if we can separate this. Of course, we'll find out when I'm done whether this is the correct way of disassembly. since there is no correct way. You're not supposed to disassemble them. So I'm slowly working the edges to get the glue to break free. You can hear it slowly cracking. Once I get a section, I just move the screwdriver up a hair and I keep switching sides. I don't want to heat this because the plastic is a lot thinner. Also, I don't feel like burning myself at the moment. And I noticed that when I look down in the edges here, there's not a whole lot of glue. There is, but it's not a huge amount. There we go. There is glue, is what I meant to say. So here we go. Here's the inside. Now I know what it's caught on. You see all those wires? They're glued to this center hub. So if I pull down, you see the circuit board flexing? That is what I'm stuck on. So if you have this piece and you were trying to rip the bottom off, there's a chance you're going to lose and break all these wires. So it's a good thing that we opened it. You can also see the track. You can see there's a couple of guys hiding in here, you know, the tunnel of love. So what I'm going to do is, because I can't see everything, I'm going to take a Sharpie, probably seen me do it before, different colors, and I'm going to mark a line on each of them so I know which wire goes where. I'm sure most of them don't matter. I'm sure they're just lights, like these lights here, here, here. But if they flash in a certain pattern or have a certain, let's put my phone out of the way of doing things, let's try and keep it OEM. The only one I'm not going to mark is the large connector, because, well, it's the only one. It's the large connector, which is this. So do the hard one over here first. Normally I'd say take a picture, but unfortunately, picture's not going to do a lot in here. Now we do the next one. Now, the ones that you definitely never want to screw up would be like plugging a motor into a light, or usually vice versa. Light into a motor would be bad, because a motor is going to be a lot more power, and you can definitely burn some stuff out. So, I'm going to unplug everything. I'm going to use some thin needle nose pliers. Start unplugging the plugs. And of course these two guys are in my way. So I got 3 of the 5. The fourth one that's a little farther in, you're probably going to need some long ones. Needle nose pliers. Is the big plug. Whatever you do, do not pull from the wires if you are going to do this. Pull it from the plastic. And in my case, I'm not only trying to pull, I'm trying to pry the far side up. I can get the close side up, but I can't get the far side up. There we go. Because if you pull from the wires, you risk ripping the wires out of the socket, and that would be bad. So, the last connector in the back, I'm not going to color code, because it's the only one without color. So, there's no point. Lift her up. Okay, so now all the plugs are unplugged. Now let's see if we can get this to separate. I am just checking in here for any other issues. Everything looks okay. So my only issues are going to be these 2 characters in the front, I believe. She's caught on this edge. This is what I talk about, glue snot or glue strings. Right here and right there. Remember, cut towards your thumb, not your chum. So you can end up in a bandage like me. I think if it's still bleeding by the time I'm done, I might have to go get some stitches. So much fun. It's a good thing that if you have blood thinners, you probably shouldn't work with sharp things. I live dangerously. Alright. So, the speaker wire is preventing me from lifting this all the way off. So there's got to be a way for me to get that to break free so I can lift this all the way up. Yeah, alright. There's a loop glued up in here. So I'm going to separate that loop. I'm going to heat it up, and then I'm going to pull on the wire to get it to break free from the glue. So I got the speaker wire, and I have one other wire that goes underneath, which might go to the motor, that are not allowing me to fully remove this. So I'm going to try and get this hot glue soft again, which it is. And now I'm going to pull some wire out. You saw how beautifully glued this is. It's not going to be too terribly difficult to just slather some glue back in here. I am going to move the characters out of the way when I redo this. Here we go. So, this big old loop is the speaker wire, which apparently is not completely soft. There we go. That's the one wire that's in my way. And I got two more. One that goes up here. Ah, there's another circuit board right in here. Sneaky little bastards you are. So these two wires, this one and this one, are plugged in up high. Sorry, it's just the one. So separation. So there's the one circuit board, which you can see the paint job on it right there where I painted it with some markers. And then there's the other circuit board right in there with a whole bunch more, which is mostly lights. All these wires up top here are lights, except for the plug that goes from this board to this board, which I believe that plug is just to transfer the power to this board, because there's nothing animatronic on this except for the lights. So I'm going to rest this out of the way. So this is a little bit of a issue to take apart, but it's a part. So we have three wires that go inside here. One of those is definitely the speaker. I'm going to say it's probably going to be, usually black and red is the motor, but I'm going to say it's a speaker. And we'll find out. We'll take it all apart. So I'm going to make my prediction in advance. And the reason I'm going to do that is the gray and red wires are thicker. So they're probably the motors. And do I have any paint on these? Yeah, black goes there. Black is listed as DY2. Red is power. DY1 is blue. And this other guy over here that had nothing that I didn't mark is speaker. So no movement. movement. Let's see, I'm going to look through the edges, see if I see anything inside. So it looks like to take it apart, got to remove a half a dozen screws around here. I see where these holes are these plates. So I'm wondering if those are access plates to access the drive mechanism. So we're going to find out. So get a Phillips screwdriver. Take this one off because it's right up front. I have a gear. So this is probably one of the idler gears to keep this track rotating. And this bigger one is probably where the drive is, because this and this are the same size. Oh, I might have to take them off to get the center off. I just thought about that after I screwed it back on. So I have one lonely screw right there, and another guy right here under the edge. So that means there's probably one under the circuit board. Not that I can see. This is the main circuit board. It has the blob chip. And it appears to only be glued in place. Yeah, it's only glued in place. So I'm going to remove it and get it out of my way. Again, these two guys are in my way again. So here is the main board, which had glue there and a whole bunch of glue right there, which is right here. So I'm going to try and remove some of this. There we go. Well, I haven't bled through this gauze yet, which is good. And now I'm going to take out these 3 satellite screws that are not attached to the access points and see if I can lift it. Yep. And I was wrong. The black and red wire is the motor. So. Ah, it's got that stupid gear that's impossible to replace. Alright, so everything's bound up. So this is the drive gear that goes from here up into here. So it's got one motor that makes the rotation. So I'm going to pull that back out. And just going to... It's got some resistance. It's sticking a lot. So let's... going to be kind of hard to remove. You'd have to remove these three because this and this right here, these outcroppings, catch this wafer edged area, so you can't lift it up. But let's test the motor. Make sure the motor's good and this all spins like it's this part spins because there's no drive gear, so it's just going to be testing the center. But I need a couple of wires to shove inside, so I'm going to use a couple of resistors. Set this for about 2 volts. I just want to see it spin. Connect one there. Now I don't know if you can see where that is rotating. That's 3 volts. I don't see any broken teeth on the gear. I don't hear any clicking from the gears. Now we're going to stick this back in. There we go. Apparently I have the motor backwards since they're going backwards. Easily fixed. Put that one there. Just increase the voltage to 4 volts because I can hear it bogging down. I'm sure this motor runs at close to full power, which is 4.5 volts from the system. I'm listening right now to the mechanism as it turns. This whole ring is trying to lift, and I'm wondering if it's getting wedged. So. I don't see any debris in the track, but I'm wondering if this this ring, when it lifts like this, is getting stuck on these or those, or if one of the gears is actually bad. But we need to see what's inside here. Okay, so this has no screws in the bottom, but there are 2 screws inside this gasket. And then underneath the corpse, since he's sitting up at the moment, there is another screw directly below him. There's actually 2 screws below him. Three screws. Holy smokes. A lot of them in here. I'm just taking the ones out of the top lip to see if I can separate this center for the gasket so we can see inside and see what's in here and see if maybe something in here is causing the problem. I'm going to have to get that bottom one out, but I need him to sit all the way up. That's why I can get my screwdriver in there. Now I think he needs to lie back a little bit. Sorry, it's probably off camera so I can see inside. Okay, I got all the screws out, but this center hub does not want to lift. There we go. Huh, there's a light. That wire's a light. So, now that I have this thing up, and what it was stuck on was there some glue right there. Make them sit back up. You can see there's 2 more screws now that we got the gasket up. So here's the screw holes I was looking at off camera that since I noticed I wasn't in view. Those 2, this one right down in there, and now there's 2 right here. So we can check what's inside here and make sure that everything's good. It's starting to look like you may never have to open this unless his upper torso separates from everything, or you get something caught inside of the disc area. So yeah, there's nothing in here except for the satellite gears, which run under this plate, which make these spin when you turn the big gear, which is what I was doing with my finger, like that. So this spins really freely, so I don't think there's any issues up here. You can see that they have him plastic staked, his lower body. There's a plastic stake right there to allow his torso to act as an anchor point for pivoting. So you technically should probably never ever have to take the top off. Technically. It's all greasy. Get these markers off my bench and we'll continue. So, as far as I can tell, there should really be no reason for this not to be rotating. This spins way easier than this. There's a lot more mass here. So let's open this and see if maybe one of the gears is bad. And the reason it's not spinning is because of the amount of mass. There's a broken gear that is, well, catching. Or the pulley's bad, the belt. So remove this cap with the 3 screws. And then inspect your gears. Normally this is the one that breaks. This one and this one. This obnoxious guy that's a pain to replace because I can't find them. And I've been trying gear casting and I've had no success yet. And then there's this 10 tooth, which is very common, of cracking. But everything looks good. Now this bushing down here doesn't look so great. That's this dark stuff you might see around the base. But everything else looks pretty decent. So let's take this whole plate off and look at the bottom. So let's put the gears back in so we don't lose them and or contaminate them, since they are coated in a butt ton of grease. What's nice is the motor is pointing down, so the grease is less likely to get into the motor, burning out the motor. When you put the cap on, make sure that the shafts for the gears line up into their respective holes, and then put the screws in. I'm not going to screw them all the way in case I have to open it back up in a second once I look at the bottom. There's the bottom. Belt, it's a little weak. I'm looking at how the teeth mesh. I'm looking for any reason why this thing cannot turn. Now I'm going to put some stress on this gear, and I'm going to rotate this and see if something is slipping. Alright, I'm going to put stress on the next gear, and if I do, it pulls the pulley back. See? So I do not see anything. 10 tooth has some discoloration from the bushing, but it's not broke. I'm looking at it with some magnifying glasses on, and the belt is loose. It might be slipping, so I'm going to try it again. I'm going to screw this back down. I'm going to put a load on it, on this track with my finger, and I'm going to see if the belt starts to slip. So I'm going to tighten this back down, because at the moment there's nothing obvious. There's nothing obvious that I can see that would cause this to stop turning and strain like it was when I first turned it on. It was straining, trying to rotate the mechanism. If the motor goes out, it's a standard 300 CA motor. Since there are two different styles out there, there's a high torque and a high speed one. I'd recommend the high torque one because of the amount of moving mass on this piece. The more torque. It might run a little slower, but it'll move it easier. But the disadvantage to it is being high torque. If something gets in the mechanism, it could break the gears versus stalling the motor out. So trade-offs. And the gear back in. Get my temporary test leads here to stick it back in for juice. I used to have one I made that was for this, for these itty bitty micro ones. I have no idea where it went. I have to make another one. Keep these out of the way so they don't touch each other again. It's backwards again, but that's all right. Other than my meter keeps slipping here and falling out. You can see I was turning the whole unit when I was holding it. So I know it's backwards. Just jump teeth. It's only pulling 300 milliamps too. It's actually quite efficient. So let's put the additional load back on it. Trial and error. Trial and error. Make sure the wire is out of the way. Guess what's nice is you cannot put this on wrong since the two are the same and the one's a different size. You can't really screw that up. What I forgot to check was to make sure that that drive gear went into its respective hole, which it did. The drive gear I'm talking about is that double stack that sticks up. Alright, some of these screws are not magnetic, which is annoying. Now if this works with me using the jumper, then the problem's probably going to be from the circuit board, that the circuit board isn't putting out enough juice to the motor that they can handle the load. This one's going to be the treat. This one's under the edge. Apparently this is the only screw that's magnetic. There we go. red wire is the negative and the black wire is a positive, which is also counterintuitive for most things. Yeah, right there where it jumps is where it slows down. Oh, that's my connection came out. So I need to figure out what is causing this thing to lift, because when it's lifting, what it's doing is it's pushing right here on this plate, and that's slowing it down. So I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be from the manufacturer and they just did a poor job, or if there's something else I can't see inside the track, because there's nothing in here. You can see all the way through this thing. There is literally nothing in there. All you have are the standoffs for the 3 gears, and then the corrugated parts is what touches. There's nothing else in here. Nothing. So, and a speaker. Don't forget the speakers in here. But there's nothing on the moving parts that are touching, unless it's the stress of these guys. Which it might be, because this one's on the wrong side. His finger is supposed to be on top of the track. It's under the track. I might be able to fix that without unscrewing it. I just need to move the track forward up to the top of the hump. Like that. Now, there's an easier way to fix that, and I'll show you. So let's move this just a little bit more. To right there. I'm not paying any attention to the fact that these unscrew. So you can realign these if they jump off of the edge. Do it carefully, because there is a spring in here. You don't want to lose the spring. Yeah, that might be part of the problem. There's gunk built up. I wonder if this is the whole reason that it's lifting, because it was lifting here when I first tried it. It's because his fingers broke. The thing that rides on the track is physically snapped. I wonder if that is the entire cause of this whole problem. This piece I just wiped off, which is that black right there, is the finger that goes right here. And this finger was inside the square, not... And I'm wondering if this was getting wedged on this, and then every time the track hit the broken piece, it would lift. So let's try it without this guy. See if it works better. This whole thing might just be a little piece of broken plastic on the inside. red, so it goes forward. And this goes into the black. This is a lot more difficult than it should be. Probably be easier if I had my other thumb. Seriously. All right. Stay. It's either getting caught on those wires or getting caught on my meter wire or power wires. So let's see if we can just get those to stay out of the way for a little bit. Yeah, look at that. It's riding smooth. It's not lifting. It's not clunking. Oh, my meters are touching. So, this whole time, this could have been taken off easily without taking the rest of this apart. But now you know how to take it apart after an hour of this. So, I'm going to put this back in. I'm going to see if I can get it to rest on any... Nope, it won't rest on any part of the track. Nope. So that's the problem. This finger broke off and there's going to be really no repair for it. Because reprinting it and with a 3D print, they all seem to not hold or they break. So... that's the issue. Your zombie partier up front is throwing the wrench into the monkey here. I'm going to try it one more time with the broken finger, now that we got the broken piece out, and see if the broken finger is going to interfere with anything. Then I'll contact the owner, because my only option would be to cut the rest of the broken finger off. This guy would just stay stationary while this one goes up and down, the female, and then reassemble the whole thing like it was. So, one more try. And I really need to either find or remake my connector for these small Molex connectors. No, it's getting caught on that broken finger. So it lifted it immediately because that finger is getting caught under the track. Because when it goes up, it jumps off, and then it goes under the track, which is lifting the track, which is wedging the track right here, because it's so close. I could try and maybe reverse them, but then it's going to lift the track over here, and I might wedge it on this side. So I think we're just going to have to give this guy a trim and make him a stationary prop where he just stays up. So I'm going to talk to the owner and see what they have to say. And then if that's the case, I'm going to reassemble this, which is the same as this assembly, just backwards. So just watch this in reverse. And of course, put all this back together, put a dab of glue on here, run all 7 screws back into this guy, make sure he opens and closes, then set this back on top, plug in all my connectors, and then re-hot glue it, and then re-hot glue the whole base in, which of course I'm going to clean it I'm going to remove most of this from out in here. And then put it back together and test it out. I'm also going to hot glue back in the motherboard, the main circuit board with the blob chip and all the little components on the back. So, which goes right here. So if you have this piece and you hear something clunking on the inside, it's possible this broke free of its glue and it's just bouncing around. That would be bad. So now you know how to take it apart. You have to peel the edges away. You don't have to cut the little holes in the bottom like I did. They were just to check to see if there's any hidden screws. Carefully peel it apart, break it free from here, and then remove this section, which is hard glue, not hot glue like on the bottom. And then inside, heat up the glue here, pull the wires out and disconnect them. Color code them if you can, so you can see the red's right there on top and the red goes right in the middle. And that's actually marker, not my blood. So, and then the big fat one right here, which I said I wasn't going to mark, can't miss it. It goes to the big fat one right here, which is this. So, all right. So this is where we're going to stop for the moment, which means if everything is copacetic and we just trim this guy, when you come back in a minute, when I come back, this will be all back together. We'll be doing a test of it fully assembled. All right. See you in a few. All right. It's all back together. Look, everything's turning. Again, I don't have the figurines and stuff on here and the little disco ball for the spotlights to shine at. But running around, not stuck, not binding. This character is moving up and down. This one's now stationary because I did message the owner and let them know what's going on, and they just said that's fine. Cut the finger off so it doesn't bind the track. So it's all glued back together. There you can see that she's going up and down behind the headstone there. And sound works. Just had it turned down. Everything's doing what it's supposed to. So this one was pain to get into, but a relatively easy fix. It was him. That was it. His little finger broke off and got wedged in the track. So now you know how to take it apart. Peel around the edges of the bottom. Carefully pry it off or heat it or both. Take off the back plate where this comes out of. And then heat up the glue and peel all the wires out of the glue. Unplug the secondary circuit board, which is up here, from the primary board, which is down there. Separate the two pieces, and then you can get to the track mechanisms for the upper and lower track, your jump up and scare you people, the speaker, so on and so forth. Color code them so everything works like it's supposed to. I highly recommend that, like I did with the Sharpie or the dry erase markers. When you put it back together, I glued the bottom on first, so that way, I'll turn it off. So I glued the bottom on first, all the way around. I folded as much of this over as possible. Some of it is bad for me opening it. Like I was saying, it's not horrible, but it's got some chunks missing out of the edges. Once that's glued on, then I use the factory foam. This piece. Ooh, that's bright enough, the camera. Wedged at an angle, upside down, without putting pressure to break anything off. As you can see, I haven't broke anything off. And, because I'll admit it if I do. And then, with it upside down, when I mean upside down, I had it like this, at an angle. And I glued all those wires back up. And then the two wires set to come off of here, I then, as I was pushing this in, folded them and put a bubble of glue on the inside lip so that they'll sink into it and hold it up, so it makes an arch for the characters to go through, which they are, as you can tell. Then I used the hot glue and ran a bead around all 4 sides, stuck it on, let it cool. I wasn't going to use any hard glue on it because most likely it's got to be opened up again. The reason I say that is belts break, gears wear out, they crack, so on and so forth. Something falls inside in the track, has to be popped open to get it removed. Any number of things, but they usually always have to be worked on. So I use the hot glue on anything that has to be removed again, and I use the hard glue like that on things like the figurines and stuff that shouldn't ever have to come off, but probably came off because they got smacked and or dislodged in shipping, as an example. Or the glue just got dry and fell off. So, but it works. It's quiet, no sound. You can just barely hear the motor humming with the gears. The loudest thing on this without the sound is when the lid shuts. That's it. So here it is, all done, ready to go back to its owner. So the Graveyard Party, remove the bottom, remove the backer, careful with the wires, mark your plugs, fix your problem, and then reverse, put it all back together. Make sure you glue your wires out of the way. Use a good quality hot glue. The hot glue sticks I'm using are Surebonder. I actually like these sticks. They actually seem to work really good. I'm surprised. And I'll show you something that I got to you guys might be interested in if you're lots of gluing. Is Surebonder makes the Surebonder glue roll, and that's actually what I'm going to hook up to this soon. But this is 77 feet of hot glue. There we go. Amazon, 5 pounds. So, and you can feed it right out of this hole. But I'm going to be using this when I run out of the sticks, and I'm going to have this mounted up on a shelf so I can just feed it into the back of my battery operated one. So I should hopefully never run out of glue, because I always run out of mid-stick. But they designed this so you can cut it to length, which you can see there. It works on high and low temperatures, because this is a single temperature glue gun. My powered ones that run on a wall socket are one single temperature, one's a dual temperature. Anyhow, Carl Wilson, the designs by Carl, Halloween Village is designed by Carl. I saw him use this at a thing, and I liked the Surebonder, so I tried it. And honestly, out of all the different hot glue sticks I buy, I find that the Surebonder works the best. You do have to let your gun get up to temperature, though, because it is pretty temperamental at some low temperatures. Once the low temperature is at temperature, it comes out so much nicer than like the Gorilla brand or Ace Hardware brand, so on and so forth. So if you're looking for good hot glue, I would recommend Surebonder, because so far I've liked it the most. And it dries absolutely clear, whereas a lot of them have a whitish yellow opaque color to them. This stuff is clear like water, which you could actually use as water in a little diorama or a vignette. So it's hard to see. When I peel that back, there's actually glue in there, and it is clear like water. I mean, like I said, this stuff is great. So, little side note, if you want really good hot glue, based on my testing on different things I've worked on, I'd recommend the Surebonder hot glue, whether you get the short sticks or the big roll, and it works beautifully. But you do have to get your glue gun up to temperature. If you try and do it when it's at a lower temperature, it will not come out. Some of the other brands I found at lower temperatures will start to come out, except they don't have good adhesion. At least with Glue Bonder, when it finally does melt, it will actually stick. So I'm just going to set this so that gasket closes so I can put this back in its box. So other than that, that concludes this one. Thanks for watching and the patience it took since it's over an hour. What you saw outside of the camera, it was another, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes or so. But, and remember, when playing with an X-Acto knife, keep your thumb out of the way. So, all right, till the next one.